Well, it's 5 o'clock and it's Tuesday, May the 20th, 2025. I'm going to call to order this Committee of Adjustment meeting for the town of Saugeen Shores. And up first on our agenda is the land acknowledgement, and the Vice Deputy Mayor will read that today.
Yep, thank you, Deputy Mayor Hubert. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they have made in both caring for the land and in shaping of this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing, along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you for that. Next up is a disclosure of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof. If anyone has that about anything on the agenda, you can declare now or at any point during the meeting. Seeing none, I don't believe we have any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda. So next up, I have a recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment approve the minutes of April the 22nd, 2025 as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Member Wallace and seconded by Member Schmidt. Is there any discussion about the minutes from April 22nd? Seeing none, all those in favor? Those are carried. The Secretary Treasurer would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Chair Huber. I just wanted to make note that the minutes from the March 17th Committee of Adjustment meeting were approved with a typographical error. They have been amended to reflect the following. Item number 6.1, which is the Kelly file for 243 Lake Street, has been updated to state the following. Planner Steeper explains that porches are included in the lot coverage calculations. Thank you.
Thank you for that. 6.1 on our agenda is a public meeting for file number A-2025-007. This is a public hearing under the Planning Act. If anyone from the public is interested in this application or wishes to receive a notice of the decision, please send an email to bcplpe@brucecounty.on.ca. First, we will receive a report from the County Planner, Julie Steeper. Then we will hear from the public who are here in person, virtually, or who have submitted correspondence to the county via email. Then committee members will have an opportunity to ask clarifying questions, and I will ask them to reserve their comments on the application until the public hearing has closed. Members of the public are advised that the right to appeal the decision on this application is limited to specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act, or the owner or applicant of the land subject to the amendment, who have provided oral or written comments to the committee on the application before the decision is made. I now declare the public hearing open and ask the planner on the file to present the application. Julie, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Huber. The application seeks relief for the rear yard setback for both the existing dwelling and proposed detached additional residential unit. The proposed rear yard for the dwelling is 6 meters, whereas the required in the zoning bylaw is 7.5 meters. The applicant is seeking relief for 1.5 meters. The proposed setback for the detached additional residential unit is 1.5 meters. The bylaw requires 3 meters. The applicant is seeking relief for 1.5 meters. If approved, the application would facilitate the conversion of the existing shed into a detached additional residential unit and recognize the existing setback for the single detached dwelling at 236 Macaulay Street. Lake Street in this application is considered the front of the property. Macaulay Street is considered the rear of the property. No new structures are proposed with this application. The applicant has confirmed there will be sufficient space to accommodate amenity areas and parking for the proposed uses. Both buildings are at an appropriate and reasonable safe distance from the road. The application meets the 4 tests, and I'm recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. We will now hear from members of the public, including the applicant or their agent. And please note that submissions are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak? Who's the applicant or the agent? Come up to the microphone, please. And just make sure that you are right in front of it as close as you can get, because it tends to be sensitive to.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the applicant, Derek Seaman. I don't think I have a lot of comments about it. The owner, Dana Fox, is here as well. We're just wanting to put an ARU in an existing building that was built quite a few years ago. So, but I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions about it.
The one thing I neglected to do is please state your full name for the record.
Yep, no problem. Derek Seaman.
Thank you. Is anyone else from the public here to speak in support of the application? Is anyone else from the public here with questions, concerns, or objections to the application? I'll just give the secretary a chance to get back over here and then ask her, are there any written submissions that were not already discussed in the planning report presentation or oral submissions?
There are none.
Thank you. Do any committee members have clarifying questions for the planner, the applicant, or members of the public? We didn't have anybody speak before we close the public hearing. So are there any questions that require some clarification from anybody? I have a couple. I just wanted to confirm that the intention is that there's no parking off of Macaulay. All of the parking will come in off of Lake Street. I don't know if that's a question for the planner. Can you respond to that, Ms. Steeper?
Through you, Chair, I may. The parking is proposed to come off Lake Street. And the applicant has demonstrated they have 3 parking spaces.
Okay, and it's not noted in the application, but I would just encourage the applicant to pay attention to other bylaws that exist with the town of Saugeen Shores concerning signage and that sort of thing. We've recently made a change to the sign bylaw that prohibits ground signs in residential areas. So there are no signs that could be installed close to the road indicating a property. There can be a sign, a number sign right on the house, but there have been some changes with the sign bylaw recently. But any other questions? So seeing none then, we will consider a recommendation on the application. And I will now declare the public hearing to be closed, and the committee will now discuss the application. So are there any comments further to the application? Everyone's pretty quiet tonight. So the recommendation that we have is subject to a review of submissions arising from the public hearing. The application for minor variance from comprehensive zoning bylaw 75-2006 is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that any future development on the property conforms to the provisions of the zoning bylaw. Number 2, that the decision applies only to the proposed development as indicated on Schedule A attached to and forming part of this decision. And number 3, that the existing deck attached to the shed to be converted to a detached residential unit, an ARU, be removed to the satisfaction of the town of Saugeen Shores. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, seconded by Councillor Grace. Do you want me to read this? Okay. So we have the recommendation is on the floor. I neglected to read the reasons. The reasons for this recommendation would be the variance maintains the intent and purpose of the official plan. The variance maintains the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The variance requested is desirable for the appropriate and orderly development and use of the lands and buildings, and the variance is minor in nature. So is there any comments further to the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next on the agenda is a report from the county planner, Julie Steeper, on file number A-2024-032. And Julie, I would ask you now to present your report.
Thank you. Comments were received from members of the public and committee on March 17th. Some members expressed concerns with the rear yard setback for the proposal. Compatibility, privacy, parking, and height were among some of the other issues raised. Ultimately, a motion was made to defer the application so that the applicant could review and respond to the issues raised. The applicant has considered the input from both the public and committee. The applicant has provided a submission in response to the feedback. The proposal has changed. The depth of the house was previously proposed to be 8.5 meters. It has changed to 8.02 meters. The applicant has decreased the overall footprint of the house. The lot coverage percentage of the house is now proposed to be 43%, whereas the previous proposed percentage was 47%. The applicant has decreased the lot coverage by 4%. The zoning bylaw allows for 45%. Currently, the lot coverage is less than what is permitted. The lot coverage of the proposed dwelling conforms to the zoning bylaw. The proposed rear yard setback is 3.55 meters, whereas the previous proposal was 3 meters. The applicant has increased the rear yard setback by 0.5 meters. The applicant is still proposing a two-story dwelling, however, is willing to provide a lower internal wall height of 1.8 meters. This change would lower the overall maximum height of the building by 0.6 meters. The zoning bylaw allows a maximum building height of 8 meters. The applicant is proposing a height of 6.2 meters. The height of the proposed dwelling conforms to the zoning bylaw. The applicant previously proposed a front yard setback of 5.1 meters and is now proposing a setback of 5.18 meters. The applicant has increased the front yard setback by 0.8 meters. 0.08 meters, excuse me. Comments from the town requested a condition requiring the removal of encroachments of the road right of way. The applicant has confirmed these will be removed. After further review, the condition has been removed as it wasn't specific to the proposal, and town will work with the applicant to ensure compliance. The application satisfies the two tests set out in section 45(2) of the Planning Act with respect to the expansion of illegal non-conforming use, and I'm recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Has the planner, Julie Steeper, explained in her report, the public hearing for this application occurred on March the 17th, 2025. The committee will now have the opportunity to discuss the application. Does anyone on the committee have comments on the application or a requirement for clarifying questions to the planner? Go ahead, Member Schmidt.
Thank you, Chair Huber. This through you and either to the planner or the applicant at our
I'll just the applicant is not technically able to speak because it's not a public hearing. So if you can direct the question to the planner, that would be appropriate.
Okay, that's fine. So at the March 17th meeting, the Committee of Adjustment had wanted that the setback be maintained to 4.47 meters as per the existing building. That was not meant, and I just wonder if we could have the rationale for not meeting that.
Ms. Steeper, can you respond to that?
If I may, through you, Chair. The applicant attempted to meet the greatest setback they could achieve while still maintaining one floor living space that the applicant would desire. So unfortunately, a change to meet that setback would severely impact the design of the first floor level.
Councillor Grace?
Thank you, Chair Huber. My question has really been answered as well, just by the last question and answer. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question or a comment? Member Martin?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through you, this is a comment, not a question. I still have concern about the rear setback. The existing at 4.47, in my view anyways, would be the least amount of setback you could possibly have. It's supposed to be 7.5, and I'm just concerned about drainage, and I realize that that's something which the town can work out, but also mostly the privacy. And the mention of a privacy fence is fine, but it is still very, very close to the property line. Thank you.
Any other comments? Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, then
Just a-
Member Schmidt again.
It's a quick question to the planner. The square footage, the building square footage is now 1,040. Am I correct by saying that the square footage back in March was 1,200 square feet? So it's been reduced by about 160 square feet. I have 1,200 feet, square feet on my mind here. Do you know offhand if that would be correct? It's about 160 square foot smaller?
I'm sorry, I do not have the square footage in front of me for the difference between the original submission versus the proposal we have in front of us.
I do like, there have been 3 or 4 revisions made since the last meeting, and I do appreciate those changes.
Member Schmidt, did you have another comment?
Yes, further to my question. Thank you for the answer, for the clarification. I also do have a concern. I personally do not agree that this does not result in an undue adverse impact on the surrounding neighborhoods, particularly the neighbor directly opposite or basically in the backyard. There is a very short distance there. The neighbor has also expressed concerns about privacy, and I do agree with that concern.
Thank you for that. I do believe that the applicant's agent is online. Is that correct? Is Mr. Dennison online? Oh, sorry. Oh, you're right behind a chair. I actually thought you were Derek's son at first. Sorry. I do have the ability to enable you to answer a question. So perhaps, Mr. Dennison, if you could come over to the mic, I'll take advantage of you being here, and I apologize for not recognizing you back there. It's an incredible glare when you're sitting here coming in from that window. It was just mentioned about a fence at the back. Can you confirm, is there going to be a fence constructed across the rear of this property, or is the fence that's referred to in the application, are those fences down the sides? Are you able to confirm that, please?
So there's currently 2 fences down the side, and there is a fence attached to the rear deck, which would be removed. There can certainly be a fence at the back. We haven't actually got that far on whether there is one or not. But the fence that is there is actually attached to that deck, which is a couple feet in from the current property line on that survey. So the property line is behind that fence.
Okay, well, and then just to confirm for the record, the intention is to remove the deck and the fence that's behind the structure.
Correct. The deck would go, the fence that's currently there, because the fence doesn't go all the way along the back, it goes along it's attached to that, it's attached to that deck, so that deck would go. There's also a small, shed back there that would also go.
Okay, so the assumption that I could make then is that the rear yard will be open space.
Correct, yeah. The plan for the rear yard is it's open green space. There'd be a step off to the back. And then whether there's, a barbecue or whatever there.
Okay, I wanted to, since you mentioned about the fence, we did receive a comment from the planner about how the town had indicated an interest in a condition about removing encroachments, and the decision was made not to put it there as a condition. So I just would like to ask Candace if it's appropriate to indicate a condition about a fence being installed across the rear of the property.
Thank you, Chair Huber. I am Candace Ham, the Development Services Officer for the town. And I do think that a condition in relation to a fence deviates from the subject matter of the application that's before you. And so the staff recommendation would to not be include that type of condition.
Well, I appreciate that Mr. Denniston has heard the concern, and we'll take back some comments. Thank you very much. Since he's at the podium, I've enabled my own question. If anybody else has a question for the developer, Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt.
Yeah, through to the developer, the square footage, has it shrunk from the original March application to now, including the deck?
Yes, yeah, so the deck at the back is never part of the footage
I
that's
guess
there.
the porch
The
was.
porch, yes, the porch is shrunk, and the overall square footage of the building is shrunk.
From what to what?
It's approximately, then I have it on my computer, I could tell you exactly, but it was at 47% of the coverage. And it's now under 43, so I know the lot's like 2,500 square feet, so 4% of that, so 100
100 square feet.
somewhere, yeah.
Councillor Grace, did you have a question? Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, you have to turn your mic off. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a question for Steve, but I have a question, I guess, for Candace. Since to me, it seems like the issue of the setback and the concerns about the current setback, which is 4.47, and reducing that to 3.5 or something like that, I think. But the assurance that the deck is going to be removed, to me, that having that deck there, I guess what I'm asking is, can we make it a condition that the deck be removed and another deck not be installed? I think that's germane to the issue of the setback and the privacy concern.
Through you, Chair Huber. One of the conditions is that the decision applies only to the proposal as shown on Schedule A, which is the rebuild, which does not include a deck in the rear. So by default, that condition should address that a deck isn't proposed and would not be included as part of the proposal.
Is there anything else from committee members? Member Beckett?
It's not really a question, more more just a comment on my opinion. I mean, I think a great effort has been made to make an improvement over the original drawing, and it's now meeting nearly all of the conditions. I mean, the rear setback is a concern, but it is an improvement on what the original proposal was.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else? I just wanted to comment that the town submission did indicate some issues with the encroachments on public property. And although it is not showing up as a condition, I just would like the record to show that it has been commented that efforts will be made to remove the encroachments from public property, and that all of that will be looked at as the project unfolds. I also just want to also state that this is also a residential property, so the new sign bylaw would prohibit ground signs in a residential zone. So the signage associated with the property is very specific to being on the building, and I would encourage a consideration given to looking at the new sign bylaw to see what that means. Anyway, I do have, seeing no other questions, I do have a recommendation that reads, the application for, make sure I'm reading the right one, yes. The application for enlargement extension of a legal non-conforming structure is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. Number one, that the approval applies only to the development as shown on Schedule A, attached to and forming part of this decision. Number two, that an engineered grading and drainage plan be completed by the owner or their agent to the satisfaction of the town as part of the building permit process to mitigate against potential negative impacts from the proposal as shown on Schedule A, attached to and forming part of this decision. And the reasons for recommending approval of an enlargement extension of a legal non-conforming structure are that the application is desirable for the appropriate development of the subject property, and the application is not anticipated to result in any undue adverse impacts on the surrounding properties and neighborhood. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation? Moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt, seconded by Member Beckett. Is there any further discussion on this recommendation? So since I have a motion that's been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. And the next item on our agenda is an indication that the date of our next meeting will be July the 14th, 2025. Do we have applications on that, for that one already?
Through you, Chair Huber, I will confirm if there are any applications at the beginning of July. I usually do that the first Monday of July of the month.
My next sentence is the meeting scheduled for June 16th is canceled. So I guess there should have been in the other order, but so the secretary will confirm early in July whether or not we have applications for the July 14th meeting, which if it's confirmed, it will be at 5 o'clock. So I now have a recommendation that this Committee of Adjustment meeting of May the 20th, 2025 hereby adjourns at 5:29 p.m. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Member Wallace, seconded by Member Beckett. All those in favor? The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.